The Buffalo Bills just reinforced their roster. Bills Mafia, what's up today? I believe that Brandon Beane is actively making moves. He's every single day looking for ways to improve this roster, especially at this point in the season. Now, I know, again, the trade deadline is dead and gone. It's passed. But Brandon Beane is still looking out there, and he's looking for a guy named Brandin Cooks. He loves the name Brandon, I guess. But you know what? It's not necessarily the explosive move that we wanted. You know, a couple weeks ago, I was at this camp out with my church, and a bunch of these high school guys were throwing these cans of corn and fire. And I'll tell you what, after about the third one, it was insane. Fire everywhere. I want to say that Brandin Cooks is going to be this massive, explosive receiver. But he's 31 years old. He's getting longer in the tooth. But you know what? He could be a great addition at this point in the season. He'll have to learn the playbook. He'll have to get some time, some reps with Josh Allen, some synergy. But you know, he's a veteran presence with some speed, and he's got some separation ability. Today in this video, I want to talk about his route running, where I believe we're going to use him, how he fits into the system of the Buffalo Bills. But also, we signed Shaq Lawson to our practice squad, which, you know, that's a classic Brandon Beane retread, right? Two veteran signings, one returning to Buffalo. Again, this is maybe one of the most reliable receivers in the last 10 years. He, you know, was picked by the Saints. He was traded around to the Patriots, and I believe he was with the Rams for a little bit and back to the Saints, and just all over the place. But again, this is stability. This is the kind of move that you want to make ahead of a January push. They're healthy. They can be maybe adding some added rotational pieces here and there. But again, I'm going to break that down today. I've got some clips for you from their play, specifically from this year from Brandin Cooks, thanks to the Cover One guys. But before we get into it, again, I just want to welcome you into our community. My name is Colin. Again, this is Crack the Table. I'm just making these videos so that you, a fan, can have some perspective, joy, and even satisfaction with all things Buffalo Bills football. We are on the road to 3,000 right now. I started this channel about 3 months ago, and you know what? It's insane, and I'm absolutely humbled at how far we've gotten so far. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel, join our community. But also, as always, smash the like button. I appreciate that every single day. Drop a Go Bills if you would already. But also tell me in the comments, what do you think about these signings? What do you think about Brandin Cooks in particular? I think that's the one today that we're going to be spending the most time on. But let's get right into it. Again, the big signing last night that happened. The Buffalo Bills have signed wide receiver Brandin Cooks to the active roster. The active roster, not the practice squad, which means we paid him some money. Not only does it mean that we paid him some money, it means we also are going to have to either play him or sit him. We'll see this upcoming week against the Steelers if he's going to be part of the 48. I do not personally think he is, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But again, I want to talk about Brandin Cooks first and foremost. Cooks isn't some added projection to an offense. He's not like adding this 25-year-old receiver who struggled with his first team as a rookie. He's not a gamble. He's not a maybe if he develops guy. He's a production he is a productive, already proven player. He's got almost 10,000 yards in his career, 6 seasons with 1,000 yards. He's got speed, separation, and I believe one that our wide receiver room really needs is maturity, precision. Again, he walks into a very, very young wide receiver room of Coleman, Shakir, Palmer, Shavers, and instantly becomes the veteran voice. Now, whether he instantly has the respect of everybody in the room, we'll have to see that. But regardless, he's pretty much a pro's pro. I don't remember too many character issues over the career of Brandin Cooks. I do remember I traded him off my dynasty team about 8 years ago, though, for a first-round pick. There's that. But, you know, he's been traded around for first-round picks his whole life, right? But the guy who's done it in big games, in tough environments, in multiple teams, multiple systems, he's bringing in some level of polish. He's bringing in some reliability. He brings in someone I believe Josh Allen can trust, but has to earn, again, that synergy with him as a quarterback. So what does adding Cooks right now mean? Again, I think route detail, separation IQ, and even pre-snap IQ are things that I'm looking at. Again, pre-snap motions I think are very much so in the play for this guy once he picks up the system. Again, you know, I'm not dogging on Amari Cooper. I feel like I have the last couple months, but these late additions, they take time. And even Brandon Beane a couple weeks ago in a press conference was talking about how they take time to develop and learn the playbook. And you don't want to kind of neuter or lessen the playbook for the whole team just because you want to use one guy. It's a really bad tactic for Joe Brady and the offense to potentially do that. But he gives this offense someone who could potentially win early, maybe win clean. He gives Josh Allen maybe a couple answers when things get muddy, especially as plays break down. I believe he raises the floor on third downs. I believe he gives a timing-based target that's somebody other than Kincaid or Shakir. Again, he brings speed that I believe you must respect, even at 31, regardless of the fact, that he's an older player. We've seen this with someone like Tyreek Hill, and they both have similar speed. Tyreek Hill's probably a little bit faster, but the thing about Brandin Cooks is that the thing about older receivers who are quick is if they can get clean releases, they've still got their speed. It's one of the things that was their bread and butter coming into the NFL, and they've kept it. They've retained it. Now, I'm not saying he hasn't lost a step since he was 25 years old. Of course he has, but there is still a level of he's got speed, probably more than maybe some of the other receivers on our team. I'm going to probably watch that, especially early on with this guy. But offensive projections here for Brandin Cooks, we've got 5-6 games. My guess, I say 5-6. The reason being, I don't think he plays against Pittsburgh this upcoming week. I believe he needs some time. I believe he needs to get in the building. I'm not saying he's out of shape or anything like that, but it would surprise me if he's part of the 48 going into this season, going into this upcoming game. But again, with him, our team posted this stuff, but I want to look at some of this other success by rate or success by route rather. He's good on some of these other routes, some of these out routes, in routes. He's been doing a lot of hitching, slanting, and crossing, as well as one screen pass this year. But again, I don't think early on, here's just some out routes by him. Again, thanks for the guys at Cover One for posting these. He's out there. He's getting around. He's running some routes. Go to the next one here. We'll start this over. Here's some in routes just over the middle of the field. Again, this is a lot of what Dalton Kincaid would do. We'll see what happens when he gets in there. I'll let this run. But even within that, again, with maybe a 5 or 6 game projection, maybe 20 to 30 catches, maybe 30 to 40 targets, maybe 300 to 450 yards, depending on if he has any big plays or not. Again, maybe 12 yards per reception. A guy who, again, I think the short-term impact of a guy like Brandin Cooks is going to be very much so. Here's some crossing routes for us. A couple of these is, again, third down efficiency. It should go up with an addition of Shakir and I believe hopefully a healthy Dalton Kincaid and Josh Palmer healthy as well. We should have some clean separators at every single layer and phase of the field. Again, Keon Coleman's development, though, I think is another added bonus. I believe adding a veteran presence that's actually a veteran is going to probably be able to help Keon Coleman's development, maybe his attitude, maybe his preparedness, maybe his presence at team meetings. We'll see about that. But Brandin Cooks is a real vet's vet. He's a real pro's pro. But then again, another thing that I think going down the season that's going to be really helpful for the short term for Brandin Cooks is that he's a player who can help stabilize Josh Allen. Josh Allen has been rolling out and just throwing the ball in these wonky pockets. I believe that Brandin Cooks, after the play breaks down, after the routes kind of fall apart, I believe he can still be a weapon who can get open. He knows how to do that. Again, Cooks makes Buffalo more reliable, especially when plays break down, but more rhythmic, more layered, and I believe that is the upside that Brandon Beane is really shooting for at this point in the season. But I want to talk about maybe just briefly here our roster. Looking at the screen here, I'll zoom this in a little bit for us. I'll move it around. Let's see if I could do that. Well, that's not what I wanted to do. Anyway, we'll move on. I'll just talk about Shaq Lawson. How about that? I don't know what happened there, but then there's Shaq Lawson, right? He's a guy we've added now. He's the definition of a Brandon Beane retread. I'm not saying that this guy is going to come in and he's going to be a rookie, former first round, coming in playing with an elite ceiling. He knows the building. I can tell you that. He knows the defense. He knows the culture, but I just don't know if he knows how to get after the quarterback. That's, I think, the thing. He's not your star. He's maybe a stabilizer. Maybe if it's Wednesday right now, the report might come out pretty soon that Joey Bosa is injured, maybe week to week, something like that. I'm not sure about that, but he's a rotational piece behind Rousseau and Epinesa and Some of these other guys, Bosa, right? He's got a high motor, right? High energy, locker room guy who hopefully you can trust. This is familiarity over flash for sure, though. Again, he knows the culture, he knows the defense, he knows the building, but I'm not sure if he knows how to get after the quarterback. I was laughing over that one. But continuity over uncertainty with a guy like this, a vet you don't have to teach, you just kind of deploy. When you need to call him up off the practice squad, he'll be ready. He'll be a rotational piece. But again, the Buffalo Bills didn't swing wild in this. They didn't make panic moves. They're not gambling. They're just looking to add some veteran presence ahead of a playoff push. And I believe especially the Brandin Cooks ad. But Shaq Lawson, we'll see if he even gets on. We'll see if he even gets on the active roster for us this year or even before the playoffs, unless there's any key injuries. But again, I believe Brandon Beane is sending a very clear message to Bills Mafia, sending a very clear message to the NFL that the Buffalo is gearing up for a deep season push. We're ready to win here against the Steelers. I'm excited for it. Anyway, I hope you have a great day. God bless. Go Bills.